you, son, blind, you thought me unkind, to remind you how winter kills, lost in daydreams. You drove too fast and got nowhere. You rode on half fair when you got too scared. How winter kills. You tear at me searching for weak seams. Pain in your eyes makes me cruel, makes me spiteful. Tears are delightful. Welcome your nightfall. How winter kills. I tear at you searching for weak seams. How winter kills. Hello? Anyone there? Anyone there? It's a Thursday. I'm trying a new system. We're on Facebook and YouTube. It's a multicast. We've got a little book to read. Explanations for the day. Yeah, thanks for all of the concerns over my welfare. My truck was stuck in the snow and took a day. I got it out. I had to catch a ride into town basically to try to get something to make it so the vehicle goes. So I was indisposed all day doing errands and trying to work out the stuff to do. Who's there? Who's there? Do I get to see any comments? I'm not sure if I get to see comments on this system. It's a test, another test. So I think I'll start reading some book. Oh, I didn't think about the song to play after that. Oh, does anyone know that song? Who knows? Who knows? Hello, Philip and Lucia. I see you. Does anyone know what that song was from? That was a song from my childhood, adolescence. I'm trying to remember when I first heard that song, and I think I might have been like 13 or 14, mid-80s. I think some people might know that album. Anyone? Hello, Amanda. Okay. That was a song in America, they were known as Yaz. Is that electronic? In England, it was Yazoo. So they were a British group. But that's kind of a funny phenomenon. Bands that had different names in different countries. You wonder what that was about. I think it had to have been like some kind of... I mean, even back to like the Beatles had the same album would come out different in England or USA. Like they had different promotion campaigns, and and they thought different things would work. So I think sometimes even like albums had different titles or different track listings and stuff. But to have your whole band name be different is pretty extreme. I can't help but think that like, some business guy was like, Yazoo out here in America. No, I don't think anyone's gonna. I just don't think they'll go for it. It's a bit too twee or whatever it was. I don't know. Philip just saw the Charlatans on Sunday. When they had toured back in the 90s, they had to be the Charlatans UK. Yeah, that was common. Like, I think it didn't even like the Mission UK. We always said UCK. Charlatans UCK. So it's like, nope, that name's already taken. You need to be UCKed. Anyways, that intro song was from Yaz, otherwise known as Yazoo, on their second album, Upstairs at Eric's. And I found this cassette, like I was saying, maybe when I was like 12 or 13, in one of my sister's like drawers. They had like their cassettes, so I'd go like, I don't know, it was probably illicit. I don't know if I was supposed to be like rummaging through my sister's drawers, but that's where the tapes were. And so I had heard that song. And it's like I guess most of their stuff's kind of like, electro. I don't know, I actually like their songwriting even on the kind of dance things, but whatever. So we've got another song to play. What are we gonna play? But we've got a book to read first. We're slowly getting through the Book of Tea. Maybe we've got some news. So I went into town. I'm thinking I need to get, basically I need money. I need a job. I actually applied for a job, temporary. I just for graphic design. And I was thinking I need to get my freelance. Like I haven't made a resume for like. We were talking about jobs last week, weren't we? I got myself a pen too. Look, I went to a bureaucratic agency and got myself a pen. I noticed these days they've all got these same gray Bics everywhere. It's like suddenly there's no more custom pens everywhere. Everyone's just like, oh, we can't spend money on custom pens. We just need this gray Bic. So, yeah, temporary graphic design job. Maybe it'll rescue me out of the pit of being behind on everything. And then I can go back to being an artiste. Do I get to be an artist yet? Do I get to be an artist again? I want to be an artist. Please, God. So yeah, but I was thinking I should get my freelance side gig going, or at least have it available in case. So I actually several years back, like 2016, 17, 18, I had a kind of a freelance graphic design job that was super cool. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was doing photo restoration on these albums. Like I basically had to redo these. It was a lot of kind of Nigerian funk music. This is really obscure stuff from the 70s, Nigerian. A lot of it was pretty psychedelic, but super cool. Like this music is great. So the only record covers they could get were just these totally trashed scans from the vinyl. And so I'd have this totally messed up album cover with scratches and, some of it was really bad. And so I had to I had just had to redo and try to photo restore where I could, and I'd redo the lettering, and so it was a pretty cool job as far as that goes. And sometimes I was pretty surprised, like what I could do. It was kind of intense sometimes. 70s West African music, it is amazing. I know. Hey Thomas. I wanted to get the reissue because they were for vinyl reissues, and I didn't. I've got some of them. I was able to have them send me, but I hope they still, like, they're not all, the reissues aren't all sold out, because I wanted to eventually get copies of all the graphic work I did. I thought that would be fun. It was cool having the records for what I did the graphic design on. Anyways, I've got some pretty heavy audio restoration skills as well. It's pretty surprising what you can do with that, and I've done a lot of that for sure. Yeah. Jobs. I just need to I guess I want to get my artist job back on the level. Kind of fell off the last few years while I've been paying attention to the homestead, surviving, getting things so that life is survivable. But yeah. It's all bleeding coming together. Everything's coming together. It's all coming back together. I'm gonna read a book. Okay, that's enough of the news, right? Is that all enough of the news? Right. Well, maybe I'm actually still considering a mini tour in August and September in Europe. It's like it's kind of one of these things where it feels like now or never, now being like the year. But for sure I need to have the Birch Book 4 done and at least semi in the process of dissemination. And I need a tour manager as well. At least someone to work with to keep things in perspective. Maybe someone that would go along with, depending on what kind of a band I had. I mean, I thought about just going on my own too, but I'd rather, I get really addicted to having these little live arrangements. And, sometimes I just think, what's the point in just going out, me and my guitar, just all on my lonesome. Doesn't sound very fun. It could be fun though. It used to be fun. I used to have a lot of fun. I started playing alone folk style like after. Originally, I always had musicians and bands, but like at one point there was just too much melodrama. It was just like, oh my god, why can't we all just get along? Driving in the van to the show when people are difficult, so it's like, fuck this. I'm just gonna take a guitar. I play my songs. You like it, you don't like it. Don't have to deal with these people. The world needs to be live and in person. Oh. I mean, it would be cool to get out to some of these places. Economics is another thing too. It's not very easy to add up all the things, and then you've got to pay for all this stuff, sometimes in advance. So it's kind of like, that's been an issue. But yeah, Arson, we could talk about it. I'm still kind of trying to figure out if like I feel overwhelmed being a hermit in the woods, which is pretty. Sometimes I don't know if it's like normal or if it's kind of a bit. I've got the green tea. I don't know. Like sometimes I think about that and it seems insane. Like, okay, but I mean, in another way, there's a lot to deal with actually. Trying to like have a homestead where you don't have a lot of the normal civilized amenities. How's it going through? Are we managing? So I can't tell if the projection is okay. Is it disseminating into the interwebs okay? What was I saying? Oh, like, so in one way, especially in winter, trying to do all this stuff but in another way, I think why I'm overwhelmed with, I mean, the idea is you're just getting to be in the woods and concentrate on the important things, not like be overwhelmed by things, It's kind of like part of the reason to drop out, so you don't have to deal with all the dumb society things, all the dumb civilized things, all those dumb civilized things. Transmission is good, video clear, perfect picture. Woo, that's good. So we'll see if this system works. So keep doing it. I'm giving myself a little bit of a halo with my round window. That was on purpose. I thought it was fun. I'm not really movable. I thought it would. We looked at the snow last time, right? So we don't need to look again. It's a little bit getting melty. And we were going to read a book. I was ruminating about... So that's the question, too, is if I'm too overwhelmed being in the woods and looking at the trees to go on tour this year. Or if I better just do it. I've still got storage in Leipzig from when I moved out. I'm paying storage on vinyls and CDs that I've got in storage, along with a bunch of junk I've got to throw away. Junk? It was such good junk. I loved that junk. But I've got to throw most of it away and sell stuff. A lot of instruments. Tour stuff. Instruments for tour. Which would be fun to do again. But I got to get rid of that storage shed. So that would be another thing. If I went out, I could try to deal with the storage shed. Deal with the stuff. Get the mail order set up. So many things to do in life. Yeah, I'm looking for ways to be able to ask for assistance. It's hard when you're used to doing everything yourself. We're going to read from the Book of Tea, Kakuzo Okakura. This is chapter 6, Flowers. And then we're going to play a song. If anyone wants to help me, it is homesteading's pretty busy. Even if you don't even have a really good garden or animals, I haven't even got there yet. It's like I don't think I could do, like, the garlic came out, right? The garlic worked. Did I get garlic again this year? I may have. I don't know. I might have been too late. I've been building things. The creek is not filled with ice. It's getting big, though. It's getting really nice. Probably next week we'll take a look at the creek, and we've got water, and so it's nice for dunking. Ooh, tour manager in the UK. The UK has been good sometimes. I like it. I like to see my friends out there. Man, sometimes money in England sucks. It's like everything's expensive, and they, like, I don't know. That was my experience. When I went there, everyone was on the dole, and like they're like, here, we've got, we passed the hat, we got $15 for your. I mean, sometimes it was pretty absurd. It's like, yeah, it costs money to get around. But, you know, do I regret anything? I don't know. England's been nice. I like the last time I went out there. It's been a while. I think like 2018. There was a Adam, Australian guy, got me out there to play a couple gigs. And that was fun. Played some festivals. All right, we're reading a book. We're reading the Book of Tea. We're going on 21 minutes. Look, I'm gonna pass my 23 minutes. This system gives me a little indication. I need to get my timer. But I still need a song to play. Living in the Woods. Sounds like a dream come true. Come to Knochagarach. How do you pronounce that? Knochagarach. Knochagarach. I'm gonna have to look up where that is. I went to Glasgow and Edinburgh. I didn't get any further north. I had a old friend colleague in what is it? It's up north from there. The Alan from the Kitchen Cynics is up there. In Aberdeen. But I never made it that far north. But Edinburgh was pretty cool. It was not the heavy. It wasn't like the. It was like winter, or it wasn't the heavy season. So it was really. I was always amazed at how small everything is. You know Edinburgh from like Walter Scott or whatever authors. You have some idea, but then it's like. Go over there and it's like, this place is tiny. It's little. Oh, that's perfect. I'm going to play Winter Flowers as requested by Lucia. Which is fitting. Look, we've got our chapter Flowers from the Book of Tea. Okay, here we go. No more babble. In the trembling grey of a spring dawn, when the birds were whispering in mysterious cadence among the trees, have you not felt that they were talking to their mates about the flowers? Surely with mankind the appreciation of flowers must have been coeval with poetry of love. Where better than in a flower, sweet in its unconsciousness, fragrant because of its silence, can we imagine the unfolding of a virgin soul? The primeval man, in offering the first garland to his maiden, thereby transcended the brute. He became human in thus rising above the crude necessities of nature. He entered the realm of art when he perceived the subtle use of the useless. In joy or sadness, flowers are our constant friends. We eat, drink, sing, dance, and flirt with them. We wed and christen with flowers. We dare not die without them. We have worshipped with the lily, we have meditated with the lotus, we have charged in battle array with the rose and the chrysanthemum. We have even attempted to speak in the language of flowers. How could we live without them? It frightens one to conceive of a world bereft of their presence. What solace do they not bring to the bedside of the sick? What light of bliss to the darkness of weary spirits? Their serene tenderness restores to us our waning confidence in the universe, even as the intent gaze of a beautiful child recalls our lost hopes. When we are laid low in the dust, it is they who linger in sorrow over our graves. Sad as it is, we cannot conceal the fact that in spite of our companionship with flowers, we have not risen very far above the brute. Scratch the sheepskin, and the wolf within us will soon show his teeth. It has been said that man at 10 is an animal, at 20 a lunatic, at 30 a failure, at 40 a fraud, and at 50 a criminal. Perhaps he becomes a criminal because he has never ceased to be an animal. Nothing is real to us but hunger, nothing sacred except our own desires. Shrine after shrine has crumbled before our eyes, but one altar forever is preserved, that whereon we burn incense to the supreme idol, ourselves. Our God is great, and money is his prophet. We devastate nature in order to make sacrifice to him. We boast that we have conquered matter and forget that it is matter that has enslaved us. What atrocities do we perpetuate in the name of culture and refinement? Tell me, gentle flowers, teardrops of the stars, standing in the garden, nodding your heads to the bees as they sing of the dews, of the fearful doom that awaits you? Dream on, sway and frolic while you may in the gentle breezes of summer. Tomorrow a ruthless hand will close around your throats. You will be wrenched, torn asunder limb by limb, and borne away from your quiet homes. The wretch, she may be passing fair. She may say how lovely you are while her fingers are still moist with your blood. Tell me, will this be kindness? It may be your fate to be imprisoned in the hair of one whom you know to be heartless, or to be thrust into the buttonhole of one who would not dare to look you in the face were you a man. It may even be your lot to be confined in some narrow vessel with only stagnant water to quench the maddening thirst that warns of ebbing life. Flowers, if you were in the land of the Mikado, you might sometime meet a dread personage armed with scissors and a tiny saw. He would call himself a master of flowers. He would claim the rights of a doctor, and you would instinctively hate him. For you know a doctor always seeks to prolong the troubles of his victims. He would cut, bend, and twist you into these impossible positions which he thinks it proper that you should assume. He would contort your muscles and dislocate your bones like any osteopath. He would burn you with red-hot coals to stop your bleeding and thrust wires into you to assist your circulation. He would diet you with salt, vinegar, alum, and sometimes vitriol. Boiling water would be poured on your feet when you seemed ready to faint. It would be his boast that he could keep life within you for 2 or more weeks longer than would have been possible without his treatment. Would you not have preferred to have been killed at once when you were crimes you must have committed during your past incarnation to warrant such punishment as this? The wanton waste of flowers among Western communities is even more appalling than the way they are treated by Eastern flower masters. The number of flowers cut daily to adorn the ballrooms and banquet tables of Europe and America, to be thrown away on the morrow, must be something enormous. If strung together, they might garland a continent. Beside the utter carelessness of life, the guilt of the flower master becomes insignificant. He at least respects the economy of nature, selects his victims with careful foresight, and after death does honor to their remains. In the West, the display of flowers seems to be a part of the pageantry of wealth, the fancy of a moment. Whither do they all go, these flowers, when the revelry is over? Nothing is more pitiful than to see a so beautiful and yet so hapless. Insects can sting, and even the meekest of beasts will fight when brought to bay. The birds whose plumage is sought to deck some bonnet can fly from its pursuer. The furred animal, whose coat you covet for your own, may hide at your approach. Alas, the only flower known to have wings is the butterfly. All others stand helpless before the destroyer. If they shriek in their death agony, their cry never reaches our hardened ears. We are ever brutal to those who love and serve us in silence, but the time may come when, For our cruelty we shall be deserted by these best friends of ours. Have you not noticed that the wild flowers are becoming scarcer every year? It may be that their wise men have told them to depart till man becomes more human. Perhaps they have migrated to heaven. Much may be said in favor of him who cultivates plants. The man of the pot is far more humane than he of the scissors. We watch with delight his concern about water and sunshine, his feuds with parasites, his horror of frosts, his anxiety when the buds come slowly, his rapture when the leaves attain their luster. In the East, the art of floriculture is a very ancient one. The loves of a poet and his favorite plant have often been recorded in story and song. With the development of ceramics, during the Tang and Sung dynasties, we hear of wonderful receptacles made to hold plants. Not pots, but jeweled palaces. A special attendant was detailed to wait upon each flower and to wash its leaves with soft brushes made of rabbit hair. Thus it has been written that the peony should be bathed by a handsome maiden in full costume, that a winter plum should be watered by a pale, slender monk. In Japan, one of the most popular of the No dances, the Hachinoki, composed during the Ashikaga period, is based upon the story of an impoverished knight who, on a freezing night in lack of fuel for a fire, cuts his cherished plants in order to entertain a wandering friar. The friar is in reality no other than Hojo Tokiyori, the Harun al-Rashid of our tales, and the sacrifice is not without its reward. This opera never fails to draw tears from a Tokyo audience, even today. Man, I just can't stop on this one. This is a really great, I don't know if I should read the whole thing though, but man. Great precautions were taken for the preservation of delicate blossoms. Emperor Huzong Sung of the Tsang dynasty hung tiny golden balls on the branches in his garden to keep off the birds. He it was who went off in the springtime with his court musicians to gladden the flowers with soft music. A quaint tablet, which tradition describes as Yoshitsune, the hero of the Arthurian legends, is still extant in one of the Japanese monasteries. It is a notice put up for the protection of a certain wonderful plum tree, and appeals to us with the grim humor of warlike age. After referring to the beauty of the blossoms, the inscription says, "Whoever cuts a single branch of this tree shall forfeit a finger therefor." Would that such laws could be enforced nowadays against those who wantonly destroy flowers and mutilate objects of art. Hey, Graham. Maybe I should stop there. Oh, but it's so good. Yet even in the case of pot flowers, we are inclined to suspect the selfishness of man. Why take the plants from their homes and ask them to bloom mid strange surroundings? Is it not like asking the birds to sing and mate cooped up in cages? Who knows but that the orchids feel stifled by the artificial heat in your conservatories and hopelessly long for a glimpse of their own southern skies? The ideal lover of flowers is he who visits them in their native haunts, like Tao Yuan Ming, who sat before a broken bamboo fence in converse with the wild chrysanthemum, or Lin Ho Ching, losing himself amid mysterious fragrances as he wandered in the twilight among the plum blossoms of the western lake. 'Tis said that Chu Mu Shu slept in a boat so that his dreams might mingle with those of the lotus. It was the same spirit which moved the Empress Komyo, one of our most renowned Nara sovereigns, as she sang, "If I pluck thee, my hand will defile thee, O flower. Standing in the meadows as thou art, I offer thee to the Buddhas of the past, of the present, of the future. However, let us not be too sentimental. Let us be luxurious, but more magnificent. Said Lao Tzu, "Heaven and earth are pitiless." Said Kobudashi, "Flow, flow, flow, flow. The current of life is ever outward. Die, 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 die. Death comes to all. Destruction faces us wherever we turn. Destruction below and above, destruction behind and before. Change is the only eternal. Why not as welcome death as life? They are but counterparts, one of the other, the night and day of Brahma. Through the disintegration of the old, recreation becomes possible. We have worshipped death, the relentless goddess of mercy, under many different names. It was the shadow of the all-devouring that the Geburs greeted in the fire. It is the icy purism of the sword soul before which Shinto Japan prostrates herself even today. The mystic fire consumes our weakness. The sacred sword cleaves the bondage of desire. From our ashes springs the phoenix of celestial hope. Out of the freedom comes a higher realization of manhood. Why not destroy flowers if thereby we can evolve new forms ennobling the world idea? We only ask them to join in our sacrifice to the beautiful. We shall atone for the deed by consecrating ourselves to purity and simplicity. Thus reasoned the tea masters when they established the cult of flowers. Anyone acquainted with the ways of our tea and flower masters must have noticed the religious veneration with which they regard flowers. They do not cull at random, but carefully select each branch or spray with an eye to the artistic composition they have in mind. They would be ashamed should they chance to cut more than were absolutely necessary. It may be remarked in this connection that they always associate the leaves, if there be any, with the flower, for their object is to present the whole beauty of the plant. In this respect, as in many others, their method differs from that pursued in Western countries. Here we are apt to see only the flower stems, heads, as it were, without body, stuck promiscuously into a vase. When the tea master has arranged a flower to his satisfaction, he will place it on the tokonoma, the place of honor in a Japanese room. Nothing else will be placed near it which might interfere with its effect. Not even a painting, unless there be some special aesthetic reason for the combination. It rests there like an enthroned prince, and the guests or disciples, on entering the room, will salute it with a profound bow before making their addresses to the host. Drawings from masterpieces are made and published for the edification of amateurs. The amount of literature on the subject is quite voluminous. When the flower fades, the master tenderly consigns it to the river, or carefully buries it in the ground. Monuments even are sometimes erected to its memory. Are we going to finish the chapter? Oh man, it's so good. We're going on 39 minutes. All right, we're going to continue. Onward. The birth of the art of flower arrangement seems to be simultaneous with the teaism in the 15th century. Our legends ascribe the first flower arrangement to those early Buddhist saints who gathered the flowers strewn by the storm and in their infinite solicitude for all living things, placed them in vessels of water. It is said that Saomi, the great painter and connoisseur of the court of Ashikaga Yoshimasa, was one of the earliest adepts at it. Juko, the tea master, was one of his pupils, as well as Seno, the founder of the house of Ikenobo. a family as illustrious in the annals of flowers as was that of the Kanos in painting. With the perfecting of the tea ritual under Rikyū, the latter part of the 16th century, flower arrangement also attains its full growth. Rikyū and his successors, the celebrated Oda Uraku, Furutu Oribe, Kotsu Kobori Enshu, and Katagiri Sekishi vied with each other in forming new combinations. I need to probably take a Japanese pronunciation course, and then I could get them all right. We must remember, however, that the flower worship of the tea masters formed only a part of their aesthetic ritual and was not a distinct religion by itself. A flower arrangement, like the other works of art in the tea room, was subordinated to the total scheme of decoration. Thus, Sekishi ordained that white plum blossoms should not be made use of when snow lay in the garden. Noisy flowers were relentlessly banished from the tea room. A flower arrangement by a tea master loses its significance if removed from the place for which it was originally intended, for its lines and proportions have been specially worked out with a view to its surroundings. The adoration of the flower for its own sake begins with the rise of flower masters toward the middle of the 17th century. It now becomes independent of the tea room and knows no law save that the vase imposes on it. New conceptions and methods of execution now become possible, and many were the principles and schools resulting therefrom. A writer in the middle of the last century said he could count over 100 different schools of flower arrangement. Broadly speaking, these divide themselves into two main branches, the formalistic and the naturalesque. The formalistic schools, led by the Ikenobos, aimed at a classical idealism corresponding to that of the Kano academicians. We possess records of arrangements by the early masters of this school which almost reproduce the flower paintings of Sansetsu and Tsunenobu. The naturalesque school, on the other hand, as its name implies, accepted nature as its model, only imposing such modifications of form as conduced to the expression of artistic unity. Thus we recognize in its works the same impulses which formed ukiyo and shijo schools of painting. It would be interesting, had we time, to enter more fully than is now possible into the laws of composition and detail formulated by the various flower masters of this period, showing, as they would, the fundamental theories which governed Tokugawa decoration. We find them referring to the leading principle, heaven, the subordinate principle, earth, and the reconciling principle, man. And any flower arrangement which did not embody these principles was considered barren and dead. They also dwelt much on the importance of treating a flower in its three different aspects, the formal, the semi-formal, and the informal. The first might be said to represent flowers in a stately costume of the ballrooms, the second in the easy elegance of afternoon dress, the third in the charming déshabille of the boudoir. Our personal sympathies are with the flower arrangement of the tea master rather than with that of the flower master. The former is an art in its proper setting and appeals to us on account of its true intimacy with life. We should like to call this school of the natural in contradistinction to the naturalesque and formalistic schools. The tea master deems his duty ended with the selection of the flowers and leaves them to tell their own story. Entering a tea room in late winter, you may see a slender spray of wild cherries in combination with a budding camellia. It is an echo of departing winter coupled with the prophecy of spring. Yet, again, if you go into a noon tea on some irritatingly hot summer, you may discover in the darkened coolness of the Tokonoma a single lily in a hanging vase. Dripping with dew, it seems to smile at the foolishness of life. A solo of flowers is interesting, but in a concerto with painting and sculpture, the combination becomes entrancing. Sekushu once placed some water plants in a flat receptacle to suggest the vegetation of lakes and marshes, and on the wall above he hung a painting by Suomi of wild ducks flying. The master combined a poem on the beauty of solitude by the sea with a bronze incense burner in the form of a fisherman's hut and some wild flowers on the beach. One of the guests has recorded that he felt in the whole composition the breath of waning autumn. Flower stories are endless. We shall recount but one more. In the 16th century, the morning glory was as yet a rare plant with us. Rikyū had an entire garden planted with it, which he cultivated with assiduous care. The fame of his convolvuli reached the ear of Teku, and he expressed a desire to see them. In consequence of which, Rikyū invited him to a morning tea at his house. On the appointed day, the Taiko walked through the garden, but nowhere could he see any vestige of the convolvulus. The ground had been leveled and strewn with fine pebbles and sand. With sullen anger, the despot entered the tea-room, but a slight awaited him there which completely restored his humor. On the tokonoma, a rare bronze of Sung workmanship, lay a single morning glory, the queen of the whole garden. In such instances, we see the full significance of the flower sacrifice. Perhaps the flowers appreciate the full significance of it. They are not cowards like men. Some flowers glory in death. Certainly the Japanese cherry blossoms do, as they freely surrender themselves to the winds. Anyone who has stood before the fragrant avalanche of Yoshino or Arashiyama must have realized this. For a moment they hover like bejeweled clouds and dance above the crystal streams. Then, as they sail away on the laughing waters, they seem to say, "Farewell, O spring. We are on to eternity." Sprig and streams swirl by the cold and the snows. Emotion stands still, has broken the spell of time in the season. Leaf forms fall and offer their shells. Shedding their skin, stealing from me winter flowers. by the tuft of the grass, a single strand caught in the wind, fluttering by the cold and the snows, eyes blur, streams swirl, whispered and still, star forms liquefy as they fall, stealing from me winter flowers.